So now we're going to go a little bit more into depth with a lot of the miracles of Padre Pio and the darker times of Padre Pio. So I think that even though the children were here, I think we learned a little bit. And I just want to touch base on more of Padre Pio's miracles, his gifts. You know, one of the gifts that Padre Pio also had was reading hearts, knowing your thoughts, your conscience. And that was a good thing, but also a bad thing for people that weren't truly repentive, that wanted to go to confession with Padre Pio. Because if you went to confession to Padre Pio and you weren't truly sorry, or if you just wanted to see him and you weren't there for confession, well, it wasn't pretty for you. Padre Pio would actually come out of the confessional, physically take you, and throw you out of the church. And he knew your sins before you even walked into the church. So there was no hiding anything from him. You might as well tell him now, because if he had to tell you your own sins that you forgot or you didn't want to confess, that was a whole different ball game. And he had the gift of tongue. Well, what does that mean? So you figure Padre Pio was in a confessional 16 to 18 hours a day with people all over the world. And he was never educated, Padre Pio. Never no schooling. So he only spoke Italian. So how can people from America, Germany, France, and other countries understand Padre Pio, and how could he understand you? Well, it's a very simple answer. Padre Pio's guardian angel, the famous quote, the line, "Send me your guardian angel." There's books written about that. Padre Pio's guardian angel would translate to your guardian angel that you would understand him and he would understand you. And I want to talk about the bilocation part again. So one of the instances that were documented was one day as Padre Pio was saying Mass in San Giovanni Rotondo, which again, he never left. But in Rome, in the Vatican, at St. Peter's Basilica, on one special day, Padre Pio was seen attending the beatification of one of his new favorite saints, St. Teresa the Little Flower. And people recognized Padre Pio, and they approached him. They're like, "Padre Pio, we can't believe you're here. You're so sick, and your superior gave you permission to come here." And just being an Italian man, Padre Pio would do one of these and just walk away. And when they turned around, Padre Pio was not there. And these people would write to Padre Pio's superior, "It was so good to see Padre Pio at St. Teresa's, Blessed Teresa at the time's beatification. Thank you for allowing him to come." And the superior's reading these letters, and well, he was here. And another one was during World War II, where a lot of our GIs from America, especially down south and Long Island, they were sent over to Foggia, which is the region that Padre Pio lived in. And they were sent there to help Italy during the battles with Germany and all of the other enemies. And they were stationed around San Giovanni Rotondo. Well, we had an Italian who wasn't Catholic, believe it or not, that was kind of working for the other side and decided to lead a brigade of bombers, pilots, to bomb all of these barracks. But San Giovanni Rotondo was in the way, so they were going to get bombed too. So as this general is leading this brigade, as they're approaching San Giovanni Rotondo, all the pilots said they saw a friar flying in the sky, who outstretched his arms, letting the pilots know, "I am the protector of this area." And at that very moment, all the planes malfunctioned and the bombs did drop, but into the forests and never went off. Well, this angered the general because, not being a Catholic, he heard rumors and stories of this miraculous monk that lived in the mountains of Gargano, San Giovanni Rotondo. And now he was going to go there and give this monk a piece of his mind. He wanted to approach him. My thoughts are, good luck. And he did. He went to Our Lady of Grace Church, and Padre Pio never went into the crowds at the church. Because like I said before, people tried to pull him, they wanted pieces of his hair, and that wasn't Padre Pio. He considered that a service, and he was very anti-that. So, the general enters the church, he's looking around, and he feels a hand on his shoulder. And he turns around, and he looks, and he recognizes Padre Pio as the friar that was walking in his cell. And General Rosini fell to his knees and started to cry and begged Padre Pio for forgiveness. Padre Pio, a saint, yes, but an old Italian man first, told him, get up. And he got up. Padre Pio told the general, so you're the one who came here to kill all of us. And again, begging Padre Pio for forgiveness, Padre Pio, Italian man, gave him a smack across the cheek. And he said, the only way that you will have my forgiveness is when you come to me in confession. General Rosini converted. He became a Catholic and served as one of Padre Pio's personal secretaries for the rest of his life. Many more gifts that Padre Pio had, such as prophecy. Prophecy we'll touch in a little while, but Padre Pio led the rest of his days in holiness, in prayers up to the last moment. And unfortunately, converting tens of thousands of people, Satanists, atheists, other branches of Christianity, and bringing them back to the one true faith founded by Christ himself, the Catholic Church. This kind of did not go over well when they went downstairs. And this caused Satan to be furious. churchgoer from Most Holy Savior Parish in Norristown gave Mrs. Calandra a little piece of material about this Padre Pio. And all that people really knew here at the time was that he was a monk who had the stigmata and he healed. So she said, let me turn to this Padre Pio. She had no clue who he was. And she took out that little and she described that moment as being stood still and surrounded by a celestial presence of fresh smelling roses, with not one flower being in her house. And this caused her to weep, and she cried out, Padre Pio, could this be you? And she got a response. Bring your little girl to me, here in Italy, now, and do not wait. So she told her husband Harry, and the family came up and sent her, the dying daughter Vera, her 5-year-old daughter Christina, and their 11-year-old son Michael. Even though not listening to the warnings from Dr. Group that you're going to bring your daughter home in a box, and people from the community pretty much calling her the crazy lady who hears voices, she had to listen to me. Getting there was not too easy. She did not speak Italian. She had no money. She didn't even worry about food or a place to stay. It was unbearably hot. She was dehydrated, nursing 2 children. They became dehydrated. They became sick. But she arrived in San Santoro, at the time not easy to find. And she described it as thousands of people pushing, shoving, yelling, screaming, just waiting to get a glimpse of Padre Pio outside of the church. And she made her way through all those people and approached one of the friars. And she came to that friar and she said, please, I need to see Padre Pio, holding her dying daughter. And the friar laughed at her in her face, saying, lady, everyone's here to see Padre Pio. What makes you so special? He called me to come here from America. He said, listen, the best I can tell you to do, come tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's when Padre Pio's mass started. We were 3 hours long every day, and then wait for her instruction. And she did. After the mass, she was instructed to go to the sacristy. And it was a little small group like this in there. And they were instructed very sternly, Italians, kneel. At that moment, when they knelt down, a very old and very sick Padre Pio was wheeled out in a wheelchair and just gave them a quick general blessing to everybody that was there and was taken away. Well, this discouraged Mrs. Calandra, made her very angry. Here she takes, she took a very expensive trip, she's taking a risk, her daughter's dying, and she had so much to say to Padre Pio, and she didn't even get a chance to talk to him. So anybody Italian here? Okay? Or for any woman in that scene. When a woman doesn't get their way, it's not great. Especially the Italians. Talk to my mother. And now, she went and demanded to speak with Padre Pio. That was not her response. She was actually granted a rare private audience with the saint, which again did not happen. Nobody could really get to see Padre Pio. They were instructed to go again and kneel down. And Padre Pio came back out. And he went over to the dying daughter Vera. He touched her, he blessed her. He touched and blessed the baby and the son Michael. And now turned his head and deadlocked eyes with the mother, as if you have so much to say. How's your time, lady? She couldn't get not one blessed word out of her mouth. Because can you imagine Padre Pio with his thick black eyes staring at you? I wouldn't be able to talk, that's for sure. But she did say something, but not with her mouth. stigmata. He blessed them all again, and Padre Pio was taken away. 1 week later, they arrived back here in the United States. And when Dr. Coop found out that the baby is still alive, he wanted to examine her. Real nice, huh? He wanted to examine her. And one of those examinations was taking an x-ray. And when he got the results of the x-ray, he called Mrs. Calandra to come immediately and bring your child. Now here, you can only imagine. One of your children is dying, and the doctor called you, come immediately. What's throwing through your mind? Did it kill her? Is it sick? So she must have been frantic. And Dr. Coop posts the results of the x-ray and circles, this is where I removed Vera's bladder. And she said, no, doctor, you have the wrong result because the bladder is still there. And he said, no. I don't know who you went to go see, and I don't understand these things, but I'm glad that you did, because your daughter's bladder grew back. Now that doesn't happen. Organs just don't grow back. It's not a thing. 1 week later, it's now September 23rd, 1968. All throughout the news, throughout the world, Padre Pio passed away. Now making sense to Mrs. Calandra, bring your baby now and do not wait, because he had the gift of what I said before, promise. He knew the day he was going to die. He knew the future. He saw in Mrs. Calandra what one day she would do, and how imperative it was for her to bring her daughter to him, for him to ask God for this miracle. He knew one day what was going to happen, what the present would have. And she went back and she gave Thanksgiving a year later at his tomb, and met all of the friars that lived with Padre Pio and took care of him, and they became very good friends, and she made a vow and promise that she will make Padre Pio known throughout the world, and she did. She opened the first center for Padre Pio in the Philippines, helped open the shrine to Padre Pio in Ireland, spoke immensely about Padre Pio throughout Europe, and came back home here, bringing the friars, bringing the relics, and went pretty much to all the states. I was blessed to meet people that remember, that came up to me. They have to be in their 80s and 90s. That we remember a woman who came to our diocese with Capuchin friars and relics of Padre Pio, and her story matched yours. And it's very wonderful to hear that there's still people alive who remember Mrs. Calandra, because she did it. She raised an astounding amount of money by doing so. And she helped extend Padre Pio's current church for the large number of pilgrims, dozens of confessionals, because they couldn't hold the amount of people that were coming for confessionals, the new set of bells on top of the church. She opened up houses for spastic children for Padre Pio in Italy. And then came back here and opened up our shrine. 1999 in Barlow, Pennsylvania. 111 acres, all dedicated to Padre Pio, where we have a replica of his church, a museum full of his relics, artwork. It's just a spiritual, peaceful oasis nestled in Barlow, which I don't call the armpit of Pennsylvania, but I digress. And miracles are still happening to this day for Padre Pio's intercession with the relics. Because what I'm going to